Well, I'm here, so feel free to ask any questions.
Sorry, that sounds like a 12-hour trip between.
Oh, I thought that was somebody here asking.
Yeah, sorry, it will be a bit noisy back here, but it's I'll leave my mic open despite that.
No problem. So since we're all newbies, we're all new GitLabbers, Sid, what's some advice you can give us to hit the ground running as hard as we can?
Don't stress out. Like many people report that the onboarding, it feels overwhelming. So don't put yourself under too much pressure to immediately get everything, etc. There's a lot to read. There's a lot to do. You make lots of mistakes. You get lots of feedback. So don't have the feeling that you got to be at 100% immediately. That would be my advice. Maybe a bit counterintuitive and maybe not what you wanted to hear, but it's a long game here. It's not the short game.
I had a question. I was just wondering how you decided, or how anybody decided on the interview process for engineers, where you kind of like work on a feature versus doing like a typical whiteboard question.
Chantal, you're breaking up a bit. Maybe you can put your question in chat. She's quick. How do you decide the interview process for engineers? Work on a feature versus a whiteboard. Yeah, it's one of the great aspects of GitLab being open source, that we can do that. And we think it's much more relevant, like to test the actual job skill instead of a whiteboard. In your time at GitLab, you'll be doing exactly 0% whiteboarding, and you'll be doing hopefully a lot of feature development. So the more that we can test that skill, the better. Also, hopefully, we like to think that it leads to more diverse hires, because the whiteboarding tends to be technical. It tends to test for like typical computer science skills, like big O notation questions and things like that, which are not all that relevant to most of your day-to-day. So we like to think that it lets people that are that don't have a typical computer science path or also compete on an equal playing field. And by the way, if you don't want to make a feature and you want that interview, then people can opt into that. It's not for the free labor that we're doing it. It's actually costing us a lot of time to review those things.
Yeah, I don't know if my connection is okay now.
It's okay now.
Okay, yeah, it's actually one of like the more unique processes I've ever seen, and I think probably the better one. I've told a lot of my friends about it, and I think it makes things a little bit more like equitable and reasonable, especially given like what our jobs are. So I thought it was great.
I hope that we can also do it in other departments. I look forward to salespeople actually having to do a sales call, but we're not there yet.
So I have a question if nobody's going to jump in. How's it going, Sid? Nice to meet you. How long was it from when GitLab launched to when it went into YC? And then what was it that got you into YC?
So the open source project started in 2011. The commercial company, GitLab.com, started in 2012. YC happened in 2015, so quite a while. What got us in YC were the organic adoption of GitLab. We made a really good installer for it, and that caused lots of people to install it. So during the interview, I know there were only 10 minutes, so the laptop and on my screen, I did a printout of all the logos of the companies using GitLab. So I was like, even if I totally mess up, at least they'll see all the logos using GitLab. And that's what got us into YC, the enormous adoption of the open source project.
Thanks.
I'll hop in here, Sid, if no one else has a question. I guess kind of obviously as GitLabs continue to grow, the problems and challenges that we're facing continue to change. What would you say is kind of at our current stage, like the biggest challenges and obstacles that we're facing now as we continue to scale and grow, either from a product or sales perspective or, you know, anywhere within the organization?
The two things that are top of my mind is GitLab.com reliability and getting enough SCLOUs to feed our salespeople. So SCLOUs are leads in larger companies. We want to make sure that we have enough. We're striving in the end for 10 per salesperson per month, and we're very far away from that. So scaling that up with more SDRs and a quickly growing inbound is the goal. The people you see moving behind me are visiting the place because we're moving, so they have to sell it now. So they'll be judging. Doesn't come with me or the monitor, so I think that's cool.
So because I'm new to the commercial side of GitLab, like I've always used it before starting here, just on GitLab.com or a deployed version of it that some of the admins I was working with before used it. What is it that what's the, for our clients, what is it that drives people? Like, what do they like about GitLab? What do they like about it more than our competitors?
Yeah, you should ask them. I hope that what they like more is that they get the entire DevOps lifecycle in a single application. So we got solid source control that is competitive, etc. But the nice thing is you push your code, and with things like Auto DevOps, you can quickly do all the other things. You set up testing, set up performance testing, security testing, etc. Right now, I'm not sure that's the reason many people are using GitLab, but I think it's going to become more and more important. And we're already seeing it with CI, that people are using GitLab because it has CI, that they're only using the CI even with the GitHub integration. And as other parts of GitLab mature, you're going to see that more and more. Like, yeah, we use GitHub and Jenkins, but we use GitLab for the security testing. We're going to see stuff like that in the future. Mark, you want to talk to your question?
I think he has connection problems. That's why he's writing them in chat.
Okay, cool. What do you see as the big... It's spotty, but give it a try, Mark.
I'll give it a try. So I see a lot of competition out there. What do you see as the big one? And any acquisitions on the roadmap?
Yeah, thanks for that. So the big competitors for us right now are GitHub and Atlassian. Bit of a version control focus. CloudBees/Jenkins is getting more important. And then future competitors might be the public clouds. AWS with their CodeStar product, Microsoft with their Visual Studio Team Services. I'm not very concerned about competitors. I do think we need a public cloud strategy, but we made a good start with our partnership with Google, and we'll keep it's on our radar. We got time there. We don't need to be super concerned. No one else is making what we're making, but it's a very obvious idea, and people are expanding in scope and going after the same thing. Nice startup like, for example, Harness.io, totally trying to do the same thing as us. Not that they're copying us, it's just so obvious that this is needed. So we got to keep the pedal to the metal and go as fast as we possibly can. So there's no need to look left and right. There's the need to look to the future and get there as fast as possible. Make sure we fix all the problems in Auto DevOps. Make sure that everything really works. Make sure we ship complete DevOps. Make sure then we make it really easy to use. Make sure we got good metrics and can help people use more of the products. That's what we should be focused on. the competition is not doing anything worrying. I'm not hearing we're losing customers because of specific features. If so, we hear that, we make the feature, but that's not the worry. The worry is stopping shipping. So we got to keep shipping as fast as we can. An acquisition we see in the future. There's all kinds of nice things around. Matrix, it's a federated chat project. I've been enamored with them. They're cool. We were closer to an acquisition at a certain point, but now they're probably going to do an ICO. There was a team in Greece from Mist.io. We were close to an acquisition. They were talented people, could be our new configuration team, but they found other financing. We're doing it as it makes sense. I think Gymnasium was a really, really nice one, very talented team, very good products that they were able to integrate, like was a best-in-class dependency scanning product. And I've been very, very impressed with how fast that team integrated and started shipping. Philippe and everyone else has done an amazing job there. So if all acquisitions work out as Gymnasium, I'll do 15 tomorrow. But we gotta be careful and make sure it's a good fit. It's a good team and the price is reasonable.
I have another one if nobody else does. Is there anything that you miss about like the culture whenever GitLab was smaller?
Yeah, for sure. The team calls were just 15 people talking about their day. So that was quite nice. You get to know everyone in the company. There's less layers of management between everyone. Other than that, everything has gotten better. Our values are better. They're better defined. People know them better. People act on them more. People talk about them more. The people that are here, as we grow, we get better and better. We're able to attract better and better people. The diversity is better. We have people in more countries, more different backgrounds. The summits keep getting better. Like I can't believe we're going to Cape Town with 400 people. Yes, Kirsten, yes. I'll thank Paul for the budget. Yes, I will. Kirsten's sitting right next to me, and she's, apart from her EA duties, she's organizing Cape Town. And she made me miss Burning Man this year by organizing it during that time. The product keeps getting better. So that's really exciting. Our users keep getting like more and better and more enthusiastic, and they keep paying more per user. So most of the things are getting better. But yeah, there's some charm of a small company that it's hard to recreate. And of course, we're trying to do that, and we're iterating on the team calls and things like that. So I think what's really important is that you don't say, oh, those things will go away and it's okay, but that you just keep trying to keep as much as that as you can.
I have a question. So when I was researching the company, even in the interviewing stages, I saw one of your interviews where you told the story about Dimitri tweeting about how he wants to quit his job and work on GitLab full time, and then you replied to him something around, "You quit your job, I'll stay in my job and pay for you to work on GitLab full time." And in that way, you were a sort of a first person to invest in GitLab, right? And I wonder what filled you with such confidence, about the product to do that, basically.
Yeah, I was
a gut feeling, sort of decision.
Yeah, so thanks for the question. Yeah, I was the first investor in GitLab. I put about 100,000. I'm not even going to say dollars and euros because I'm not sure exactly how much, but about that kind of money in the company as it got started. And the confidence came from, I saw the GitLab project was a year after it was launched. It was 300 people had contributed to it. And I thought it made a lot of sense. Like it made a lot of sense that something you collaborate with is something you can collaborate on. It never made sense to me that GitHub is closed source. Actually, most people think GitHub is open source. So like that tells you there's some energy there. Then I was like, well, is it any good? I was a Ruby on Rails developer at the time. So I opened up the code base and I was like, wow, this is like idiomatic Ruby on Rails. This is pristine. This is exactly how you should do it. Most of the time, there's some kind of, it's your hobby. So you're going to do hobby things. You have this new pattern you want to explore, or this new feature dependency injection method, or you got some kind of a framework idea. So you're going to inner framework effect. Most of the time, it's kind of messed up. This Dimitri kept this very clean and very easy to contribute to. And that was very encouraging. So I was like, okay, what can I add to this? I saw two things, like the documentation was a mess and there was no way to try it out. There was a demo server, but there was no like GitLab.com. So I thought I'll make GitLab.com. And then I cleaned up the documentation. But I want to test my idea. So I did ask or show Hacker News, like, hey, I'm making GitLab.com. This is the beta. Put your email here. And then it didn't trend. So I went down, started baking pancakes. And then I had my phone with me and I checked Hacker News another time and I saw like, wow, it's on the homepage. So I was like to my then girlfriend and now wife, I was like, Karen, can you finish up baking the pancakes? And she knew what time it was. So half an hour later, she was bringing me pancakes while I was glued to my monitor, trying to answer all the different questions. And hundreds of people signed up for the beta. And I thought, this is going to be great. This is going to be like Salesforce. This is a SaaS thing. We're going to make so much money and make GitLab really a competitor in the space. And a year later, almost nobody was paying for GitLab.com. But we had all these self-hosted clients that were interested. So then Dimitri tweeted and hired Dimitri, and we transitioned to helping those self-hosted clients. So that was the initial investment and our big pivot.
So I have a question regarding hiring. So as we are scaling that fast and we are bringing new hires like each day. So from your point, how we can ensure that our core values remain the same, and do we actually aim to do it?
Yeah, thanks for that, Anastasia. The core values stay the same. Like everything in GitLab is always in draft. So we got like 3-4 merge requests on the values just this week, as far as I can count. So that's going well. They're always in draft, so they're always changing. But we got to make sure that the people that sign up are aligned to the values as they are at that time. So that's important. And I understood from Barbie that we made a few changes to how we record, how we get feedback from interviews, that we kind of start rating people according to our values. And we're going to get better at that. But I think it's already at a good state, because a lot of people that end up interviewing with me say, it's amazing how much people talked about your values. That didn't happen in any other company. So we're already doing a good job, but we're going to do an even better job in the future. And it greatly improved. Like the initial people that joined didn't really know what our values was, because nobody knew. We hadn't written anything down. So it's getting more defined as we go along.
Where do those values originally come from, Sid?
It's a collaboration, and you can click on the edit this page at the bottom if you look at our values page and click on history. But you'll see that a lot of the edits are from me.
Mm-hmm. But sorry, I meant what was the what was the progenitor, the inspiration for that? Because they're pretty I mean, the whole credit thing is a pretty solid idea that has been built upon. But where did that originally come from?
Yeah, so we kind of wrote down at a certain size, I think 30 people or something, but you can find exactly when we did that. We started writing them down, like 13 things we cared about, many things I cared about, and I instituted in people. And I think we had like 13 values, and then I tested people. My coach was like, 13 values too much. Like, I tested another person, I tested myself, and we could get to like 3. So it was too much. And we with my coach, John Hamm, we kind of worked it out, what the hierarchy should be, what the top level values should be. And we made that thing. And then I think I called it something else. And I called it some stupid word. And I think it was Karen, my wife, who said, hey, that also spells credit. And I'm like, hey, thanks.
That's awesome. Good story.
I'll ask another question. Do you ever code anything outside? Well, obviously in GitLab for the repositories, but do you ever like code up something on your own, like a game or just something for fun as a side project?
Thanks. I'm not the world's best programmer. I got into it pretty late, and I quickly, I worked at Digidentity, and I quickly evolved to be more of a project manager. So
Gotcha.
I'm not the best. I like to, I do a lot of handbook edits, and I like to tell myself that it's kind of like it's process. So instead of making code, you're writing a process, which has some similarities to code. Like obviously people are not computers, but writing down processes really helps to make things function better. And just like you can have clean code, you can have clean processes that are composable and orthogonal to each other and that are efficient, etc. So,
And speaking of the handbook, how much of GitLab's success do you attribute to a handbook being in a distributed remote team?
a lot. I'm not
Like a percentage or anything?
Yeah, I won't dare to call it percentage. A lot more than probably the people around me. I think it just solves so many problems that companies that are scaling struggle with. I've been in a lot of other companies, and what happens is that someone has an initiative and then sends by a PowerPoint to the entire company, like, now you have to do this or that. But it's pretty clear that they haven't thought about how that coincides with all the other processes happening in the company. And then 6 months later, everyone forgot about that presentation. It's just back to doing it the old way. Here, that's not possible. You're forced to kind of make a handbook change. So you got to think about how it works with all the other things going on in a company. And you don't forget about it. New people get trained in it as well. I got a lot of people, not recently, but I got a lot of people that say that the best part about their onboarding experience, that everyone was so open to questions, that they're friendly and it's okay to ask questions. I like to think that that's because a lot of questions are already answered by the written documentation. So there's fewer questions to go around. So people will be nicer in responding to them. I think it makes remote is very hard to pull off, and it makes remote easier. It makes us more efficient. So yeah, I think it's a big part in our success, and especially as we scale. We're not hiring a person per calendar day. That is like more than 100% growth. Most companies experience extreme problems when that happens with onboarding, with culture. I'm sure there will be problems, but the extent of the problems is much lower than is normal for a company growing so fast. So I'm quite, I like to think that the handbook has something to do with that. Oh, and as for the do you code, like I tried to use Auto DevOps last week. So there's a video of that on our YouTube channel if you want to see me struggle with our own product.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think about, you know, just code documentation, you know, if you're learning a framework or something like that, but instead of, you know, learning code, you're answering and getting answers about being in the company. So it's pretty interesting. I think it's really cool.
I'll hop in. I have another question, and this kind of speaks to, I guess, the long-term vision that was kind of laid out in the handbook about eventually where it should be. The idea is to have everything be read-write, not only you know, code, but also books and movies and those types of works. And I'm familiar with the story of The Martian and how that was kind of a read-write scenario where the author was getting feedback from how he would adjust the story. I guess, how does that long-term vision of read-write on everything play in, and where do you see that unfolding, I guess?
Yeah, so we've seen now what read-write can do with code. We went from not having a lot of open source projects and being very hard to contribute to them to like this Cambrian explosion of tools. And open source for many projects is becoming the default. And everything you use, you can take and improve. And I think that's so empowering. It's like from the Britannica Encyclopedia to Wikipedia. If there's a mistake, if there's something you can add, you can contribute to it. I want to make sure that everyone can contribute to everything. If I watch a movie, I can be a big fan of the movie, but the best thing I can do is, I don't know, make a costume and go to Comic-Con. I want to be able to contribute to that movie. And now, right now, you can get a second on the DVD. It will also have a director's cut. Why isn't there 100 cuts on there from all the people who participated? Why is this curated? I want a curated experience, but I also want to be able to contribute and to add to it. And I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen to movies, to music, all the major cultural expressions. And one of our early investors was Ashton Kutcher, and he gets it. He thinks the same. It doesn't make sense that an album is remixed by like two guys in the studio for a month. There's other people that can contribute and that can kind of jam with them. And we're not going to go to movies straight away. Now, the nice thing about GitLab is that other people can use it and embed it in their product. So I've been encouraged by like O'Reilly Media taking GitLab and using it to make their books, the best technical books in the world. There's a French thing, it's on our application, at the bottom of our application space, that is trying to like help to write laws. Laws right now is like mostly a ministry just writes the law. And if a politician wants to do something, they have to kind of go to the ministry for help for writing their law. It's very hard for the general public to kind of even make a suggestion. It's a very close process. I think the process of our democracy should also be open to contributions. We're taking it one step at a time, our iteration. I'm very excited about BizOps. It's a project at GitLab that makes data engineering easier. Data engineering is not using a lot of version control yet. We think that will greatly help everyone to contribute. I'm very excited about Jupyter in GitLab. Jupyter comes from IPython notebooks, and it's a way to kind of keep a lab journal. If you've ever used MATLAB or Mathematica, it's similar to that. And if you're not, it's kind of, you can say like, do this, do that, and you kind of see the result in line. So it's like you're talking to Siri, but you got a log of what happened. And it's I think that's a big revolution. That's all the data scientists, all the machine learning people are using that right now. It's very hard to integrate with version control, but I think we can provide a step change. So Dimitri's gonna do that this quarter. So those are the starts. Working with data in GitLab. It should go bigger. There's a site called Gitbook. I know the founders. It should be easier to contribute to a book. When I now find a misspelling in a book, I have to like send an email to the author and then say on page this of this edition, this sentence, this is like, that's ridiculous. So we're getting there, and it's a very exciting market. I also like annotations, like what Genius is doing, formerly Rep Genius, with annotating things, like adding to it, not by changing the text itself, but by giving context. I just read the Korean truce or the accord that was signed with like Genius in it to elaborate on all the terms. It's so much better. I got so much more context. That's something we should be probably get into. Maybe not right now, but that's the idea. Everyone can contribute to any digital product. I think it will be a lot of fun. I think we'll get better car designs that way. I think we'll get better movies, better games. Instead of watching TV, we can contribute to TV. Look at what Wikipedia did, how much better it is, how much more expensive it is, how much more value it creates. I want to do that for everything that we touch. And with 3D printers and everything, maybe digital products are not even the end.
Quite the answer. Thank you.
I think Anastasia K asked the question in chat.
Will there be another office that could serve as a place for GitLabers to meet up and work together? Well, there is no office. We're now at our experience center. We're going to rename it to the boardroom. It's not a place where GitLabers meet up and work together. I think where that's happening the most in the world right now is in Denver. I think there's some people in the same co-working space there. The idea is we're not against it. If people are kind of in the same location by coincidence or because they recruited each other, it's cool to hang out. There's a stipend to kind of have a meetup together, etc. We really want to avoid making people feel like they miss out if they're not there. And that's why, for example, here is a Beanie. So you can log in, you can drive around, you can see what's here. And people kind of, I think many people expect like, where's everyone? Like it's really just sit there. Like Kirsten is here now, but that's because the realtor came by today. Otherwise, it's just me. You're not missing out. There's not some HQ where people are doing all kinds of things. Everyone on the same level. So if people in Europe needs an external space because they don't want to work from home, that's fine with us. But there's not going to be an office. There's never, well, not unless we change it. But for now, the plan is never to have an office. Because as soon as you have the office, you have the people in the office that have access to more information, that have an advantage to the people that aren't at the office. And we want everyone to be on the same playing field. And it's super hard to make people that work in an office write down their conversations and comment in issues and record their conversations. And all the hybrid companies really struggle with that. And I'm very glad we don't have that problem. So, Anthony, how has the first few days at GitLab been? What's good? What's stuff we can improve?
Let's see. So onboarding was fine. I think I did stress out a little, but just because I wanted to be doing work already, right? I think that's a natural reason to be stressed out. I think it's probably a little different being on the security team because I have like some big goals that I'll be iterating on for the quarter, but it's not where I imagine there's a sea of tickets for developers, engineers coming on board to kind of, there's already like a priority on them to start tackling. So it's been pretty good so far. Been getting so many robocalls on that phone line.
We got Beamy calling in right now.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess one thing that I'm haven't had a chance to sit in on is because I didn't have the engineering interview of going through a feature, is kind of seeing what some of the engineers' processes around that are. So that's something that I'm kind of curious about still. But otherwise, the fact that 2/3 to 75% of all the questions that get asked have a answer that is a link to the handbook is very different from so many places that I've worked. That's been a real change.
Cool. What's typical stuff that's not in the handbook?
It's usually not that it's not in there, but that it's out of date. So like what is the current policy for I know one benefit that my last company had was they had a small stipend for like gym memberships, but what the current way to sign up for that, or provide what you need to provide and who to provide it to, like that was never up to date anywhere, and that's the kind of thing that it is just there in the handbook and constantly being updated by everyone. It's a very, very different, very very apparent commitment to communication that that happened that way.
Cool. Thanks. Anybody else wants to chime in? Hopefully also something bad. Because I'm sure bad things happen, but if you don't feel comfortable sharing that, that's a problem.
I like that sort of the tie-in with what you were talking about, Anthony, is I'm hearing a lot of the MVC. So rather, say you have a whole page on these benefits and, somebody's like, oh, a change, there's a change in the gym membership policy. So here, what's great is like, you can go in, get it done, and that part of it's finished, rather than, oh no, we have to put that off because we're redoing the entire page, and that we're gonna like finally push it in 3 weeks. So that's something I'm starting to see a lot of, and takes a little getting used to, because it's atypical from, like Anthony, you were talking about from other companies. So, but I like that approach because you could just get it done and it's up to date. If something needs to get done, you just take care of it. So I just wanted to say that that's an interesting philosophy, and maybe you could talk a little bit about, the reason for that mindset for everyone to have.
Yeah, thanks for that question. Yeah, MVC stands for minimum viable change, and it's inspired by minimum viable product. It's the way that when you start a startup, you just want to get something out the door. We think it doesn't end when you started that startup. We think it's something that you should keep doing. Because why do you do an MVP? Why do you get the minimal product out the door? You get it because it's quicker, and then when it's out, you get feedback about how it's performing. And if you want to get something perfect or complete, you have a lot of work in progress, stuff that you're working on and is not facing the world. You're missing out on feedback, and other people are missing out on the chance to contribute. If you are redoing a page and someone else has a suggestion, they can do it because you're already redoing that page. So you're kind of locking everything. And it's also not very motivating because you've been working on something for a very long time, and you have a problem because it's not people getting back to you. So these are pretty good points I'm making. So I'll try to be a bit meta and a bit inspirational, and let's see if this is already captured correctly in the handbook right now. Can people see my screen? So here it is. Let's edit that. And talk about why we want a minimum viable change. Oops. That wasn't Control F apparently. Can someone say on audio whether they can still see my screen?
Yes, yeah, we can still see it.
Yes.
Thanks. The soft wrap doesn't seem to be working, by the way. Oh, no wrap, that's better. I thought it was different. I thought it was, the wraps work differently, but. The longer you wait, the less feedback, the bigger the chance conflict. So the less feedback, anyone knows another reason why to do a minimum viable change?
So I've been making a lot of changes to the handbook. And one of the things I've noticed is if I try to pack too much into a single change, then correcting that after the fact might be more of a headache. That like if I make a mistake and I have to roll back, it means I'm covering more ground than I should have to.
Yeah. Hard to review.
You have the bigger the change, the bigger the chance of a conflict, right?
I'm going to not do this here because I saw that in product we have a nice thing about the minimum viable change. So can we link from here? Not sure exactly where to link it from. I'm not sure I want to link from something that's highlighted. Wow. So there's 2 minimum viable changes there. Maybe this is a good way to state it. Now we'll go to the product handbook. And edit this. I'm try to be fancy and I'm going to use our new web IDE because I love that. Oh, then it doesn't open the thing. It just goes to the IDE. That's annoying. So when I click on Web IDE, I really preferably want to open that. And Control P doesn't mean print. Okay, so I'll go use the other editor. Oh, this is still on the values page. You know what? I'm going to share my other screen because I'm just going to use a code editor. Can people, yeah, I think people can see it.
This is reminding me of a question that a friend of a friend actually asked me the other day about engineering, is whether or not the engineers pair that much, or if, and I'm thinking that I know the answer now is probably not because of the focus on being asynchronous, but what is kind of what's the de facto kind of answer for that?
I would love to see more pairing in GitLab. I don't know why we're not doing it enough, but I'd love to see that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that would have been an answer I would have given him.
One thing I've experienced in regards to the pairing is in a couple of the coffee breaks I've had, we've shared screens and just sort of looked at the code and, you know, gone over some things. So I think, you know, if I have any coffee breaks with any of you guys and you want to, you know, we can go through an editor and, you know, you could teach me some stuff and vice versa and just check that out. Because, you know, there's always something to learn.
Cool. I'm going to make a merge request with that and send it off to Job. Thanks for that. And I hope you have a great time here. If there's anything wrong that your manager can't solve for you, feel free to get in touch with me. You can just DM me on Slack anytime.
Thanks, Sid.
Have a great time.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Nice
you.
meeting
Have a
everyone.
good day, everyone.
Bye.